I'd like to bring in another attorney. We have Mike Davis with us. He's the founder and president of the Internet Accountability Project, an advocacy organization fighting to rein in big tech. Welcome back to the show. Great to see you, sir. I'm sure you've been through this thing. You're not impressed, are you?
It's an abomination. It's actually stunning because it's even worse than the news reports. The news reports indicated that it was going to be a very weak case. It's even worse because Alvin Bragg didn't even include the legal basis for the felony enhancement in the indictment. And he said at the press conference that he didn't have to under the law. I mean, this guy is charging a former president for the first time with an indictment. You're indicting a former president for the first time in American history. This former president also happens to be a presidential candidate, a leading presidential candidate. And Alvin Bragg doesn't think it's important to include the legal basis for your unprecedented indictment. And remember, this is a legal theory rejected by the prior Manhattan DA at Alvin Bragg's urging when he was in the New York Attorney General's office, the Manhattan U.S. Attorney, the Federal Election Commission, and Alvin Bragg himself. But then he started taking left-wing pressure. So he hired this Matthew Colangelo, a top Biden Justice Department official, political appointee, going back to the Obama White House, Obama Justice Department under Holder, and Tom Perez, Obama Labor Department, New York AG's office. This is a political hit to get President Trump.
By the way, it's okay in America to say that. I want to put something up. There are three branches of government. We all know that. We all should know that, right? The executive, the legislative, and the judicial. People have beef with Congress all the time. You're allowed to say stuff. You're allowed to say stuff on Twitter. You're allowed to speak out. Same for the president. But when it comes to judges, somehow it's the most precious thing in the world. Take a look at this.
I want to be clear. Donald Trump has attacked this judge very directly.
Yes. Donald Trump has attacked the judge online.
Trump has been attacking Judge Marchand online, saying the judge hates him, among other things.
It's a free country. You're allowed to speak out. You're allowed to say things. You could debate whether it's advisable or not. And oh, by the way, I learned this today. This judge, Marchand, I'm sorry, he should have, number one, he should have thrown this case out immediately. And number two, recused himself. Or his daughter worked for Kamala Harris. The judge that Donald Trump was before today has a daughter who's 34 years old, by the way, okay? This was not, Girl Scout internship stuff. This was real world political heavy lifting. Did you know that? I find it totally astonishing.
Well, I would say these same Democrats who are with their fake tears that Donald Trump criticized this judge, where were these Democrats when abortion activists were threatening and terrorizing Supreme Court justices and their families outside of their homes, obstruction of justice under federal statute? Where were they when Justice Kavanaugh, his wife Ashley, and their two teenage daughters faced a 1 a.m. assassination attempt? They can save their tears. And this judge is a Democrat operative. He's part of the Manhattan Democrat machine. And every judge in New York, every appellate judge in New York has essentially been appointed by a Democrat governor because we haven't had a Republican governor like 17 years since Pataki.
I started the show earlier talking about putting Stormy Daniels up against Afghanistan, Michael Cohen up against the 13 Marines, a check written, Donald Trump's own funds, not campaign funds, putting that up against, we have no border. I feel like there's a bit of a trap here. Cable news, they love to kind of go overboard with issues, conservative and liberal alike, and that there will be the temptation, to debate this thing and study this thing and all of Donald Trump's legal problems to the exclusion of the very real issues and matters before the American people and the vulnerabilities of Joe Biden. And maybe that was part of all this to begin with, a distraction. We shouldn't fall for that trap, should we? Is it a trap?
This is a complete distraction. Alvin Bragg is a Soros puppet prosecutor. Soros gave him $1 million to run for Manhattan DA, and Soros's investment is paying dividends now with this bogus these bogus felony charges to distract, to interfere with the presidential election, to cover up for Biden. We have smoking gun evidence in the form of bank records subpoenaed by House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, that the Bidens, just in one set of transactions, took over $1 million from the CCP. So this is a smokescreen. This is a distraction. This is a bogus, trumped-up charge against President Trump, and the American people should not stand for this.
Alvin Bragg seemed a little hesitant today, a little out of his depth, and I wonder if they made him do this because you may not know this, but it's been reported by the Daily Mail and others. He may have a little bit of a Me Too issue, okay? George Soros promised him $1 million, and then they scaled it back to $500,000. Yes, a woman came forward, had some things to say, and it's believed that the Political Action Committee decided, no, he only gets $500,000, and maybe he's on a tight leash. And we'll probably never know because these issues seem off limits to certain favored politicians right now. Mr. Davis, we thank you once again. Please check out the Internet Accountability Project. Great work you guys are doing. TheIAP.org. TheIAP.org. Thank you very much.